Hi friends, welcome back to Sarah's Next Chapter. My name is Sarah and this is my cosy little corner of the internet where I share all my bookish related thoughts and musings with you. So today we are going to be discussing the book called Lilith by Nikki Marmery. So as always, grab your beverage of choice and let's get into it. Now I did make the conscious decision to use this cup, my Poison Apple Snow White cup, today because the book that we're discussing is about Lilith and it is a biblical retelling that starts in the Garden of Eden with the apple from the tree of knowledge. So yes, it was a conscious decision and I think I'm very smart for doing that. Okay. So I'm just going to warn you in advance, this video might be rambly, it might be stoppy starty, I might go on tangents, and that is purely because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this book and its subject matter. So just please give me the grace to just be with me on this ride, on this journey, okay? So, to start, Lilith by Nikki Marmery is a biblical retelling. I actually want to change that phrasing though, and I want to call it a biblical reclaiming of the narrative, a feminist reclaiming. That's what I'm going to call it. So it is about Lilith, who was Adam, as in Adam and Eve, Adam's first wife, who was outcast from paradise because she wouldn't submit to her husband. And the rage begins. So Lilith goes on this journey, this epic quest to reclaim the knowledge and distribute it around the world, basically, of Asherah. So Asherah was God's wife, who was basically completely forgotten and erased from the narrative, as most women are. I was actually going to say in ancient religion, that's not true. In a lot of Catholicism and Christianity, that is true. But in other religions, women are quite prominent. Especially like if we think about ancient Egypt and the Greeks, there are so many gods and goddesses that are celebrated and revered, and people make sacrifices to them and they take it very seriously. However, in Catholicism and Christianity, I'm saying we, I don't practice Catholicism or Christianity, but I did go to Catholic school, and it is the Holy Father that is the central figure, this one God, male presenting God. And the women, yeah, there's Mary as in Jesus's mum, and there's other women dotted about, but they are not, in my opinion, spoken of with the same gusto and reverence as God the Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You know what I mean? So Asherah was God's wife, originally. And, you know, when I read that part, I was like, oh, God having a wife? That seems so, like, wild to me. Like, that we never think of that. Like, we never question how God has managed to create all of his children without women. As far as I know, women are pretty essential for creating life. Arguably more essential than the men. So things aren't adding up right from the get-go here. You know what I mean? But yes, it turns out that God did have a wife, Asherah. And she, is basically expunged from the narrative because... Oh, sorry, my light just changed. I don't know what happened there. The light just got really dark. Hopefully it'll brighten up again. We're not sure. God wanted to be the ruler, the one God, the Father who art in heaven, all that kind of jazz. So this book is basically, as I said, Lilith's quest to bring back the knowledge of Asherah and empower women. This is basically a big, huge fuck the patriarchy, is what this book is. And I would like at this point to just read, I'm not going to spoil anything that happens in the book or any of the nitty gritty, but I'd like to read a bit from the author's note. I've got a few, in fact I've got a lot of tabs in this book, but I'd like to read a bit from the author's note that I think ties in with this. So So obviously Lilith is basically rejected because she refuses to submit to Adam, and she's quite quickly replaced from Eve, who is fashioned from Adam's rib, supposedly. And Eve is then tempted by the snake, who in this retelling is Lilith in snake form, to eat from the tree of knowledge, okay? And that's interesting as well, because why would God not want us to eat from the tree of knowledge? Why would he not want us to have wisdom? Okay, maybe because we start questioning things. God forbid, literally, God forbid a woman who thinks for herself and questions the narrative. Anyway, I digress. Let me read this bit. So after Eve eats from the tree of knowledge, she's punished for her sin. It says, she loses control of her body. By coincidence, this is the ultimate goal of the patriarchy, control over women, and specifically of their reproductive power. Here we see it delivered with divine sanction by a male god acting entirely in male interests. How convenient. Because basically after Eve commits this sin of eating the apple from the tree of knowledge, she's told that in pain you shall bring forth children, yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And that is from Genesis 3:16. This book made me feel a lot of things, anger being one of them. So the author goes on to say, I wanted to tell this story, the story of the fall of women and the demise of female divinity, by subverting the very myths that serve to enforce male supremacy. Male supremacy. Enter Lilith. What I really loved about this book is it asked so many questions. And one of the central questions was, how different would the Western world be if we always had a divine mother to worship, and not even worship, but just to hear about, for that to be the narrative, that along with we're not saying that the Father God can't be there, but we're saying, why can't we just have his equal, the mother? She's not ruled by him. She's not subservient to him. She's not submissive to him. She's not less than him. She's just there. They're equal. Listen, guys, it's okay. Man and woman can exist as equals, believe me. That is possible. How different would we be as women? As I said, I went to Catholic school, and by the way, I will say I had an overwhelmingly positive experience actually at my Catholic school. But nevertheless, how different would I be, even just me as a person, had the narrative not just been God, Jesus, the Father, the centre of the universe, it all comes from a man. How different would that be if it's like, yes, there's God the Father, he's important, but yes, there's also his wife, and she's important too. How different would that make us feel as women? Like, what impact would that have on us? So to go back to that point, that is one of the questions that Nikki Marmery? Yes, doubted myself there, asks in the book. This is from the author's note as well. She says, how different would the modern world be had this never come to pass? How would female power, female spirituality, female-centred philosophies have shaped the world had they not been suppressed? What would a religion freed from androcentrism, can't say that word, equally influenced by women look like? This book is my answer to those questions. So yeah, in this book she attempts to answer those questions. Yeah, it was, to say this book is thought-provoking would be an understatement. It definitely provoked a lot of thoughts in me, and I think that Nikki Marmery clearly put a lot of care and attention into this. One thing I will say is, at points it felt very rushed. This is not a big book. This is, let me just get the actual page number for you, 319 pages, which I think you'll agree even just by watching this video that she's packed a lot into this. We're talking about a complete revamp of the Bible stories pretty much, right from even before Eve comes into play with the apple. So I think because of that, sections of it feel a little bit rushed, because it's like, okay, we need to get to this next point now, so let's just like kind of skip through this. However, I think this might have been a deliberate choice, because maybe the author thought people would be put off by a chunky book that's like a Bible retelling, that I could see how that'd be a bit intimidating. I personally probably would have liked it. I think it would be interesting to dive a little bit further into certain bits, but I get the choice, and ultimately I don't think it hampered the book too much. I really, really enjoyed it. So I just want to read this little bit finally. I'm going to wrap this video up in a minute, but before I do, I just want to say, if you're a woman, even if you're not a woman, this book is for everyone, right? But if you're a woman, please read this book, because it really, yes, it made me feel angry, but it did make me feel empowered, and it did make me think, you know what, of course, if we're going to believe in this God, regardless of our belief in God, male and female they're just as powerful, they're just as potent, they're just as important. Our worth as women is just as important as the worth of men. And we shouldn't doubt ourselves, and we shouldn't ignore the parts of us that make us female. We shouldn't ignore our feminine gifts, bodies, powers. We should embrace all of that, because it's beautiful and it's amazing, and we are so gifted. In fact, one of the other big questions that was asked in this book is, what about, instead of always thinking of what's next, i.e. the afterlife, heaven, hell, whatever, and working our way towards that, putting off our enjoyment and happiness and pleasure for this afterlife paradise, what about if the paradise is here? This heaven, this earthly body, this earthly experience, this is a gift, and this can be paradise. This is what we're here to enjoy and make the most of. So instead of constantly putting off our enjoyment and our pleasure for some unknown afterlife, how about we think of this and make this our heaven on earth? So yeah, that was a really poignant question in this book. Anyway, I want to round off by reading this other little excerpt from the author's note. Women deserve a better origin story than a fable that vilifies and slanders us, which ordains our inferiority. This actually makes me quite emotional. I am in my luteal phase, I will say, so it is kind of hitting me harder. Anyway, a myth that was wielded as a misogynist charter to justify women's oppression, erasure and abuse for 2,500 years, and which still has power over our lives. We deserve the origin story we already had before the rise to preeminence of a sole male god. We deserve the equal woman, the powerful woman, the divine woman. We deserve Lilith. Whew. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Please go and read this book. Please do yourself a favour and go and read this book, and please let me know what you think of it in the comments if you have read it or you're interested in reading it now. I would say now is the perfect time, because we're coming into spring and this idea of regeneration and new life and the gifts of Mother Earth is very prominent. So now is a good time to check out this book. I feel like I need to go and meditate and be in my feelings right now. I'm feeling a lot of things right now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I apologise if it was a little bit rambly and all over the place, but I think that is the sign of a book that really struck a nerve when I can't even formulate all my thoughts and feelings in a coherent way. I just need to get them out. So yeah, let me know if you've read this book, what your thoughts are. If you're interested in reading it now after hearing me talk about it, please let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.